review for the score 2001, directed by Frank Oz, starring Robert De Niro, Edward Norton, Marlon Brando. So the synopsis is: an aging thief hopes to retire and live off his ill-gotten wealth with his lover when a young kid convinces him into doing one last heist that comes with a large payout. And if you could do me a favor and smash that like button, that'd be great. It helps the channel a lot. And on to the review. So this movie came out in 2001. I saw it back then. I've always liked the movie. You know, great cast. Robert De Niro, Edward Norton, Marlon Brando, Angela Bassett. You got a great cast. You know, Frank Oz, solid director, good script. Frank Oz, I mean, you know, obviously he was involved in the Muppets and everything like that. He's the voice of Yoda. He does the puppeting for Yoda, at least when it was a real puppet. And they turned it into CGI. But he directed The Dark Crystal, Little Shop of Horrors, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, What About Bob? One of my personal favorites of his. Big fan of that movie. Bowfinger's a funny movie. The Score. After The Score, I haven't really seen a lot of his stuff, but anyways, a very well made movie. Solid direction. I like how this movie opens up. It's really efficient way to show what kind of a thief De Niro is, because he's in this house and he's stealing these jewels and necklaces and stuff, and he cracks a safe. He's about to grab it, and then there's like a party going on in the background. Then this guy and this girl make their way in. They're drunk, and they're making out, and they don't see him, and he's like, it's all dark, and he's in the corner, and he's just you know, sitting there silent. And then the guy and the girl have a fight, and then he's like, whatever, and he walks off, and then she starts smoking, and then he's just, you know, he's still just silent. He's like, okay, if I don't have to make my presence known, I won't. And then she kind of starts looking around, and she sees some of the tools on the ground, and the safe's open. She's like, what the? And then, boom, he comes up behind her, grabs her, puts her against the wall, and is like, do not move, do not turn around. He's like acting like he has a gun or something, but he doesn't carry a gun ever. And then he takes the jewels, puts it in his stuff, like quick, moves, gets out of there. And then they even show how he gets away, and he lives in Quebec, Canada, but this is like in maybe New York State or something. And he takes a boat into Quebec, so maybe like there's no paperwork of him even going on a plane or a train or crossing the border. It's really nice. I like really nice little details that I think this movie does so well. So instantly they set up what kind of guy he is, what kind of thief he is. He's good, he's efficient, he's quick. He doesn't take maybe incredible risks. Now he gets back. Marlon Brando's the guy who sells everything. He has it all arranged, so he gives him the jewels. He gives him a cut of it. I think he gets like $250K for this one. And then Brando's like, okay, we have another job. I have a problem because this stuff that I was importing in is held up in customs because there's these, you know, tropical bugs in it or something, and they're eating all the wood, and it's in this golden scepter from, I believe, like the 1600s in France, I believe. Which maybe makes kind of sense because it's in Quebec, so you have that French connection kind of going there. French connection. But, so, and he's like, and it's in the leg of one of these, pieces of wood in the piano. and we need to get it out, but it's in, customs, so government building, heavily guarded, heavily secured, very dangerous. And also one of De Niro's rules is he doesn't work in his backyard. He doesn't work. He's in Montreal, I think. And he doesn't want to work in Quebec, I think, or maybe Canada at large. He's like, one of our rules is you work in the states. You work in other countries, but you don't piss in your own backyard. So he doesn't like that, and he's like, look, I already got this guy that's been checking this out for weeks. He says we can do it. That's Edward Norton. So that's when Edward Norton comes in. Edward Norton, very good actor, always been one of my favorite actors. I reviewed 25th Hour a couple months ago. Great movie. I mean, he carries the whole movie. It's just watch that movie just for him because he's like amazing in it. And he is kind of playing like this handicap guy that uh is like a janitor. There's an older nice guy that like kind of takes him under his wing, and is kind of like almost like a father figure to him, but it's all fake because it's he's just trying to steal this thing. Even that, like the nice little relationship between him and the older guy. Who's he played by? I don't know. But anyways, so you have that going on. And then, it takes a while, but finally De Niro agrees to do the score with Edward Norton and Brando being the seller, basically. De Niro kind of pisses off Edward Norton because Edward Norton goes outside of De Niro's business, which is like a jazz club, and kind of like encounters him, and then he's like, "Hey, like I'm the guy," and he does it really like incognito, like very smart, but it really pisses off De Niro. So De Niro gets one of his like heavies, um, to go and scare him and say, "Get out of town," you know. Doesn't work out. Norton beats the guy up. And then Norton goes to De Niro's place and is kind of like, look, like, treat me with some respect. This all really pays off later in the end of the movie because this is like a grudge that really pisses off Edward Norton. But in the end, De Niro's like, okay, I'll do it. But then he says to Brando, "You're gonna have to pay me $6 million instead of the 4 he offered him." And I assume Edward Norton's getting 4. So and Brando's like doesn't want to do it, but he's like, "Look, like I'm doing this in my backyard, and this is my last score," you know. So he finally agrees to it. And also going on in all of this is Angela Bassett is Robert De Niro's girlfriend, and then he's kind of throws it out there like, hey, like what if I like retire, and then she knows that he's a thief and that he owns a jazz club. He's like, what if I just was a jazz club owner? And then she kind of thinks it over and she likes that. But anyways, that's just kind of like the driving force to make him want to do this score. So he makes a bunch of money and then he's set, so nice setup for the actual heist, which takes place in the last act. There's a lot of them investigating, how they're gonna do it, getting plans and schematics and stuff. I won't really get into that, but anyways, yeah, it's a really good movie. It's it's I think it's the last movie Marlon Brando made. And, all due respect, he looks kind of bad. He looks unhealthy. It looks like he's not walking that great. He's very overweight. So I'm pretty sure it's like his last movie he did. And he's a great actor. He's been famous that he's been very hard to work with. If you're interested, just watch. There's a good documentary about the island of Dr. Monroe. The movie, very interesting, but it's just kind of like some of the stuff he puts directors through and other actors through. It really just makes me not like the guy that much, but he is a great actor. I mean, he's Jor-El in the original Superman. He's great. Obviously, The Godfather, one of my favorite movies, and I even like the first Godfather more than the second, which I know is controversial to a lot of people, but I do because it has Brando in it for most of the movie, and he's just amazing. So R.I.P. But yeah, and then now I'll get into spoilers. I mean, movie's over 20 years old if you haven't seen it, but so spoilers. And then the heist happens, and a bunch of stuff happens in between. But and then the heist happens. Very well shot. I really like how it's all on the clock. It's all, they're running out of time. Edward Norton has it all planned out, but then they're janitors and they're waxing the floor, and him and the older guy, he's like, hey, it's lunchtime, and the other guy's like, hey, let's just finish this floor, and then we can just take the whole night off, and like we'll go to a diner and get pancakes. And he's like, I don't want to do that really, but he doesn't want to act like odd, so he's like, okay. So he acts like he spills something, and then he goes down into basically like the electronics room, and he hacks into the system so that he can turn off the cameras, so that De Niro can go in there without being seen by the security guards, and they can steal the scepter. Really cool way that they steal. De Niro steals the scepter by pumping water into the massive safe, because he's like, you actually can't crack this one because it has these glass packs, and if you break the glass packs, the whole thing seals shut, and it's like near impossible to open it then. So he drills into it, and then he gets on the water line, which is above it because of the fire, puts water in it, sets off a small explosion inside. The water pressure uh, bursts the thing open, and he's able to steal the scepter. And then, boom, the twist happens. Edward Norton shows up with a gun, which one of De Niro's rules is never carry a gun. They already set up earlier that Edward Norton does, so Edward Norton knows he doesn't have a gun. So shows up with a gun, and he's like, "Give me the scepter." And then De Niro's really good acting there. He's like, no, like don't do this. Like I could just leave. We'll both make tons of money. And then Norton's like, no, like if you just treated me with a little bit of respect in the beginning, he's like, I wouldn't do this. And he's also like, and how much are you making? 5-6 million? Is that what Max or Marlon Brando's character is paying you? And then De Niro's like, yeah. So so it really pisses off Edward Norton. He definitely is the type of guy that holds a grudge. Um, and then he takes it and he leaves, and then he's even like a dick, and he's like, hey, take off your mask. And then he doesn't want to, and he shoots on the ground, and then he shoots again, takes off his mask, and then he's like, hey, smile for the cameras. And the cameras come on, all the alarms go off, and Norton slips out because he acts like he's the guy that works there. And then De Niro slips out through the underground tunnel systems. And then there's also this side plot, kind of Marlon Brando had to do this score because he owes the mob a bunch of money. It's not really important, though. And De Niro almost backs out of the score because he's like, this is too messy. Now this mobster's involved, and what does he know? And Brando's like, look, man, like I owe him tons of money. This will make me even with him. So like, please do it. Like, they're old friends, and he's like, fine, like I'll do it. So nice little scene between De Niro and Brando, and Edward Norton has a scene with Brando too. So it's nice they have a scene all together. Apparently, it's one of the reasons why Edward Norton wanted to do the movie is because he gets to work with Brando and De Niro, which may not happen again. And I don't think he's been in a movie with them again. So, anyways, I mean, if you've seen the movie, really nice twist that De Niro kind of suspected. I mean, he never says this, but to me, he's probably like, there's probably a quarter chance he's going to betray me. So what he does is he has the real scepter in his backpack. He has a fake one they were using as a model. That's in the thing that Norton takes, and then Norton calls him after they're all out, and he's like, "Hey, you get out." And De Niro's all, they're all pissed at each other, and De Niro's like, he's like, "What do you got?" He's like, "You got nothing. You got nothing." And Norton, looks at it. He's totally screwed because he's the only one that they suspect. Because I mean, he was also caught by the older guy, that the janitor that worked with him, so they know that he's the guy that stole it. They know there's another guy, but they say that they never got him on camera because right away he puts his hands up on his face, De Niro, and the camera can't catch who he is. So De Niro gets off scot free, which I assume with all the money. And I mean, I assume he gets 6 million, or maybe him and Brando. He gets Edward Norton's share now, and Norton's like, "Hey, man, I can burn you. I can do all this." And he's like, "Whatever, man. It's over. It's like now the whole country's gonna be looking for you." And he's like, "I suggest that you disappear." So Norton's totally screwed. De Niro and Brando, get the score. So it's almost this is the end of this movie. I was kind of like, they could have made a sequel to this, but maybe it would just be Edward Norton in it. Like he's on the run. He has to do another score to make more money so he could disappear. Like, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like it, to me, it sounds like it could be a good movie. But of course, they never did. So yeah, Edward Norton agreed to do the film because it would be likely the only chance he would get to work with Brando and De Niro. This was Brando's final on-screen appearance. Wow, hostility on the set. Marlon Brando constantly called Frank Oz Miss Piggy. Wow. Wow, that's messed up, man. Why? Because he was in the Muppets. I guess he was the controlled Miss Piggy. I don't know. Pretty soon, Oz refused to speak to Brando, and co-star Robert De Niro had to step in and direct all the scenes with Brando. Wow, he also refused to smile in the last scene, so his ever so slight smile was added in post-production by a computer. Wow. Okay, when Brando's like sitting in bed and the news is going that De Niro, they don't know who he is, but they know who Edward Norton is, and he kind of smiles because his friend got away, and he's gonna get rich too. So wouldn't smile. See, it's just like stuff like that with Marlon Brando. It's just like it's just weird. Like on the set of the Island of Dr. Monroe, like he like demanded that like this midget be involved throughout the movie, and he's in the movie. And he had all these weird demands, and he demanded in one scene he wore this like all this white makeup and was like driven like the Pope on this car. Anyways, check that movie out. That movie's bizarre. That is one of the weirdest movies ever made. Michael Douglas was originally attached to star as Nick Wells. Ben Affleck and Brad Pitt were offered the role of Jackie, but they turned it down. Is that oh, okay? That's Edward Norton's role. Well, I'm glad that nothing against Ben Affleck or Brad Pitt, but this is perfect for Edward Norton. Oh, filmmakers debated whether or not Jackie should kill Danny. Okay, and Danny's the older guy that works with him when he stumbles upon his scheme in the basement. Ultimately, they decided that Danny's kindness toward Jackie's fake alter ego Brian justified sparing his life. Yeah, I think that would have been pretty evil because the guy is such a nice guy to him, you know, and he's like this nice old man. It's like, yeah, I think that would have maybe crossed the line, but at the end of the day, he's the one that can ID him. But I mean, it'd be pretty obvious it's him, right? I mean, he like obviously isn't going to show up to work anymore, and you know, they're like, what happened to this guy? Like, he just didn't show up after this happened. I don't know. Edward Norton scripted. Oh, okay, Edward Norton wrote some of his own lines between Nick and Jackie. So Nick's Robert De Niro. So Roger Ebert gave it 3.5 out of 4 stars, so he liked it. I probably agree with that too. 3.5 out of 4. So, but really solid movie. Check it out. The score, if you haven't seen it, hopefully you have, because I just spoiled some of the things. But um, yeah, I've always enjoyed this movie a lot. Very good. One of my favorite heist movies. Very efficient. And on the poster, I'm not sure this is in the movie. Him him kind of descending this line like that. Like he is on a line in one point, but I don't know. It's one of those things with posters and marketing. Sometimes it's like not even in the movie. But anyways, um, yeah, awesome movie. So, but that's about it. I'll see you next time.